Hey guys, welcome back. We're out here, it's 51 degrees in southeast Wisconsin. It's approaching the end of the day. We're out here with the boys. They're running around playing in what's left of our snow and getting filthy and soaked. So we're just kind of taking an assessment of everything that's going on in the yard, how drainage is happening, where we're having pooling, so we can have some sort of idea of how we're going to tackle it in the following year to make sure that this kind of an issue doesn't happen. So I'll kind of give you a tour of what we have going on. We got some bird feeders to fill while we're out here, and the boys are out here just running rampant. So we're going to get going and have a little fun. Now we move on to the backyard. Now we notice that there's a lot of flooding around the garden. We're not entirely certain if that's just because this area is just lower than everywhere else and all the water is running to this area of the yard, or it's just because the ground is frozen and there's a thin layer of ice still on the ground underneath the water. But we're going to keep monitoring it, and in the spring, if this area continues to flood or stay flooded, we may look into doing some sort of French drain or drainage to run this water away back to the thicket area where there is a culvert to send the water away from the house. Now this is where we planted our garlic in the fall, so everything seems to be looking okay. There isn't any major dips in the soil. It has sunken slightly, but it's not too bad. The leaf mulch is all gone, so we may either have to add some new mulch to it, or we'll just top dress it with compost in the spring. Now last year, when wood was ungodly expensive, we ended up talking to a lot of friends who were doing renovations and tearing things down in their house, and ended up giving us all of their scrap lumber from everything they were doing during demolition. So we took that wood, took all the nails and screws out of it, and stored it underneath this. This is actually meant for kayaks, and it works great for housing wood, keeping it dry and elevated up off the ground, and it seems to be working great. Spring can't come soon enough. I really am looking forward to getting that panel fence up around the garden. Now in the beginning of fall, we loaded our compost up with a lot of carbon, so throughout winter we've been adding nitrogen through kitchen scraps and coffee grounds, and been mixing it up and making sure to keep it fed. Now the compost bin itself, we did make that last year. I'll leave a link for that video above. Now we have our black raspberry bushes over here. We got about 4 or 5 of them, and we want to make sure we trim these so we get a good crop this year. So we're going to get rid of all of the older dead wood and then make sure that the newer stuff doesn't have any too many branches or offshoots of the main shoots themselves. So we're going to trim all of this up and make sure that everything is healthy, and we should have a very high crop, and hopefully they're much larger raspberries. Buried in the raspberry bushes are these 2 dead bushes. I want to get these out of here because they're taking up valuable real estate where we'll be able to continue to cultivate and get more bushes and new bushes to grow. So as this happens in the long term, we'll hopefully be able to start making our own jam and jellies using these wild raspberries. Now, walking through this area, I found this little arborvitae that I didn't know existed. This may get transplanted, or since we may be removing this dead tree because all the branches are breaking off, maybe what we'll end up doing is taking the arborvitae from the west side of the house and just line this whole area with them. Now, every once in a while I'll catch deer out in our yard, and they seem to really love this staghorn sumac. They did demolish it in the fall, and it's still looking pretty sad. So I'm wondering, I might actually have to put a cage around this in the spring just to make sure that as it gets new growth, the deer don't demolish it completely and give it a fighting chance. Which is really interesting because the sumac on the other side of the house go untouched by the deer. This walkthrough really did help us take a look at everything that's going on in the yard and some of the new obstacles that we're going to have to overcome and things that we're going to have to plan for as we move forward in making this yard everything we want it to be. Now, the boys are filthy. We're going to get them going inside and get them cleaned up for dinner. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you soon.